What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video I'm gonna go ahead and clean out the brake fluid reservoir. It's got pretty dirty oil. It's pretty dark and contaminated, so we're gonna empty out the reservoir and install some new fluid. So over here, check it out. I got some microfiber towels. These are from Walmart, 75 pack for 15 bucks, which is pretty good deal. So you don't need this many. It's just I was empty, so decided to buy this. Other than that, I have some syringes. These I'm gonna use so I can suction out all the brake fluid from the reservoir. I was also looking at the turkey basters. It's just these have a smaller opening on top, so I just found it a little bit easier to control with the syringes. Other than that, I bought some gloves just so you don't have any oil, some brake fluid in your hands, and of course the brake fluid. This is a Prestone .3, so it says 50,000 mile fluid life, prevents overheating and brake fade. So first things first, I'm gonna go ahead and just use the syringes so I can just suction out all that old fluid with a microfiber towel. I'm just going to clean it out, and then we'll pour in some new fluid. After that, I'll go ahead and take off the wheels one at a time and just bleed out all the dirty fluid that's in the lines all the way down to the bleeder screw. So on this video, we're only going to do the front two wheels, not the rear ones. Later on, I need to replace the brake shoes and the rear tires, but I don't have any parts for those yet, so we're not going to focus on the back ones today. We're just going to focus on the front two wheels. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, I'm going to pour all that dirty oil into one of these mixing cups. All right, so now it's time to add some new fluid. And just want to say, this whole time that the reservoir is empty, you don't want to press on the brake pedal because that'll uh, absorb any like air into the lines, and that's just going to make the process of bleeding just a little bit more difficult than just a simple, bleed. So let's just go ahead and top this off. All right, check this out. Brand new brake fluid. If it's still a little bit cloudy, it's because there was just a little bit of old oil in there. Check this one out. This is about 8 ounces. So once we begin bleeding, the old oil is just going to exit out over here through the bleed screw. The level right here in the reservoir is just going to lower, so we're going to top it off with some more brand new fluid, and it's just going to clean it out a little bit more. So let's just go ahead and take off the wheel and start bleeding. For this, you want to make sure to put a wheel stop behind your rear tire, set your e-brake before you begin taking off your wheels. Alright, so there it is. A lot easier to see the bleed valve. In my case, I have a size 8, which fits perfectly. Before we start opening the valve right here, here's a little pro tip. You can use a piece of hose. This, I believe, is a 1/4 inch. You could put the hose right here on the valve, just like so. So that way when you open up the valve, you can, just pour it directly into like your container, a little soda bottle or whatever, anywhere, instead of just opening and splatting all over the place, which it will do. Now for the process of bleeding, you want to have 2 people, have a friend or somebody help you. One out here, of course, opening and closing the valve, and the other one inside the car. Okay, so what you want the person to do on the inside is just pump the brakes. We're gonna say 6 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and on the 6th time, hold it. Hold it firm as much as you can. Then the person on the outside will open out the bleed valve on the caliper, and that's gonna relieve the pressure. While the pressure is being relieved, the pedal right here is going to sink even lower. In that case, do not lift the pedal until the person on the outside says okay or again, because if you lift off, the pedal right here is going to absorb air into the caliper, and that's just going to mess with the process of bleeding. So the person on the outside has to say, once the bleed valve is tightened again or closed, then the person will say again, and over here the person on the inside will once again pump the pedal 6 times, 2, 3, 4, 5, and on the 6th time, hold it firm. It's going to be a little bit elevated because it built some pressure, and you'll feel it on the pedal on your foot. So once you're holding it on the 6th time, you say, okay, there. So then the person on the outside and the caliper will just open up the bleed valve, relieve the pressure. The pedal in here will go low. Keep on holding it until the person on the outside says, okay, it's closed, meaning the bleed valve is once again shut. So at that time, pump it again. You're going to continue doing that until, both of you or the person on the outside says, you know what, the oil is just coming out clean. There's no more air pockets, air bubbles, whatever. It's just clean. So that's the process that I'm going to do. I'm going to have somebody in here helping me just pump the brakes while I'm outside bleeding the bleed valve. And it's a simple process. Just again, I repeat, do not lift while the bleed valve is opened. All right, and it makes it easier if you have your engine running, the car running. If not, after you press your brakes 1 or 2 pumps, the brake pedal becomes hard. It doesn't mean that the brake system is completely pressurized with brake fluid. It's just the engine creates vacuum towards the brake booster, and it just helps soften the brakes. So just start your engine. That way it can create vacuum. It's easier to press on the brake pedal. It doesn't lie to you. just pressing that brake pedal 5, 6 times, hold it, open the valve, and then so on. One thing I just wanted to say is just if you lift while the bleed valve is open and it sucks air into the system, and then you shut the valve and then you start pumping, you'll feel the resistance there. That's because there's air pockets. You don't want to leave air pockets in your system because with heat, the engine heat, like the brake heat, with heat, that air pocket expands. And sometimes when you're driving down the road, your brakes begin to, like that air pocket expands, and that creates pressure into your brake caliper, into your brakes, hitting the rotors. So while driving down the road, you will feel that the brakes are just tightening, or makes your car slow down because the brakes are just expanding. It just needs more bleeding. So just make sure that there's no air pockets in your brake system. So let's go ahead and begin. Six. Again. 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 All right, we are done bleeding out the lines right here. There's no exact number of times, to pump, bleed. In this situation, because we're simply trying to get all the old oil from the lines down here. So this little hose works out pretty great. You don't have a huge mess. I explained to you guys the process of pumping, holding, opening to release, and then closing, and then pump once again. Over here, that's the level that it's at right now. It's barely above the minimum line, which I had topped it off. So that's another thing. Just keep in mind, don't let this go all the way down to where right here your master cylinder pumps in any air, because that air is going to be going through your brake line, and you're going to have to get it out. So just make sure that reservoir is always full of oil and it doesn't suck any air. In the situation that it does suck in air, or there's air trapped in the line, just make sure you continue bleeding to release all the air pockets from here. Make sure if there's any air bubbles coming out, keep on bleeding until there's just straight oil. If there's any air pockets stayed in the line, what happens is that once you're driving, this oil heats up, and if there's an air pocket, that air pocket expands. So what that's going to do is just it's going to apply pressure to your brakes, while you're driving. So discs are gonna heat up your rotors, your brake pads are gonna wear out. Sometimes you might even see, these are really hot. It might smoke a bit or whatever. That means that you have air trapped in your line, so you want to continue bleeding just to get rid of all the air. So yeah, right here, before we do the other side, just make sure that the reservoir is full of oil again, and then just continue bleeding on that side. And that's pretty much it on how to, bleed out your brakes. Like I said, I'm only doing these front two. The rear, I need to get some brake shoes, some brake parts for the rear. But that is it. Here are the brand new brake rotors that I had installed just the last video. Brake pads. I had used the high heat. It's manifold paint, and these calipers don't get as hot as whatever the paint can says for baking, but they are dry and they're gonna last a very good while like that. So just this process right here, brand new brake rotors, brake pads, and fresh oil, clean. We got rid of any, look at all that contaminated oil, it's just dirty. So we have some brand new brake fluid. We had said it was at 8 ounces, now it's at 10. So yep, just gonna do this other side. Off camera. There's a brand new brake rotor, very beautiful. And yeah, that's it, guys. I have a few more videos coming up on the car. I am going to do something about the turbo, but I'll show you guys on the next video. For now, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, and I hope to see you guys on my next video. Peace out.